Hi, this is Pete from the website southend.co.uk, your local site for Southend-on-Sea. On the 29th of March 2013, Fools and Horses came to Southend-on-Sea. Until the 15th of April, at the end of Southend Pier, fans of the classic BBC TV series can come along and look at an impressive collection of only Fools and Horses memorabilia and have their photo taken next to the iconic yellow three-wheeler. Launching the Trotters-on-Sea exhibition was Sue Holderness, better known as Marlene, and I was lucky enough to have a chat with Sue about the exhibition and the classic series that brought us Dell, Rodney and Nelson Mandela House. Here's me talking to the lovely Sue Holderness.
Otherwise known as Marlene. Hello, Pete. It's very nice to be here. We're very excited down here on the end of the pier. It's a bit like being on a ship, isn't it?
It's a little bit unusual. We're a mile and a bit off the Southend coast here, and it's quite a brisk day outside, isn't it?
If you haven't been down to the pier, you really should come, because the last time I came here, none of this was here. It's just, they've done it beautifully. And of course, we've got a very exciting exhibition here of only Fools and memorabilia. It's lovely.
We've got some amazing stuff. Now, obviously, we've got the van.
I mean, what can we say about the van? Everybody loves this van. It is a dreadful little car, isn't it? Truly dreadful little car. However, it is now iconic. So if you would like to have your picture taken with the iconic yellow van, here we are. No, the whole exhibition is smashing. There's all sorts of interesting stuff. We've got blown up pictures of all the people. You even have the opportunity, believe it or not, to have the chandelier crashing down at your very feet in this exhibition. No, it's good fun.
I saw the chandelier. That's an amazing idea, that is, isn't it? So 2 ladders, you can get you and a friend up there holding the famous cloth to catch the falling chandelier. And noticing the van close up, I can see bits of old gaffer tape and all sorts of things. Attention to detail is clearly an important thing with Fools and Horses.
Yes, and quite a lot of leopard print around, which makes me feel, of course, a bit more comfortable. I like all that leopard print.
And you're obviously in the leopard print today, and there's one of your... Which coat is that we're looking at on the display there?
That's a very beautiful coat that we had in Sky's the Limit, when Boise had his big satellite dish up in the garden, and we were supposed to be taking young Tyler out for a walk, and Boise was obsessed by this ghastly thing in the garden, and the baby was dressed in the exactly identical outfit with a little leopard print hood, and it's one of the many occasions when the baby has stolen the scene. Babies and animals always steal the scene, and that was a perfect example.
Of course, it says never work with children and animals, but if they steal the scene, that's probably why.
That's the reason why, and John Sullivan constantly wrote scenes with either a child or an animal or both for me to be in, and inevitably Duke or Earl or the baby would steal the scene.
Of course, yes, Duke. Yes, I do remember that classic episode. Yes, that was a good one. Was he fun to work with?
The awfully sad thing is we actually had 4 Dukes, because of course the show went on for such a long time, thank you God. It started in 81 and the last episode went out in 2003, and so no Great Danes last that long. We had 4 adorable Dukes, some more adorable than others. There was one who, I don't know, some of your listeners may remember a scene where Rodney was sent to play with Duke in the garden while Dell discussed the business of trying to sell a baby to Boise and Marlene. And this actual dog did have a passion for Rodney. And there was this very long scene with the dog leaping all over Rodney in a very amorous fashion, which they filmed all of it, the crew in hysteria. And of course, poor Rodney, Nicholas Lyndhurst, having to act his way through this scene. And then he staggers into the house going, "He's a rascal." Well, I mean, the crew were in complete hysterics because this dog had behaved very rudely with Nicholas Lyndhurst. I can say no more, but otherwise he was an adorable dog.
So you mentioned 1981, obviously quite some time ago. Are you amazed by how much of a following Fools and Horses still has?
Everybody is amazed that it should have gone on and carried on being as successful and as popular as it is, except there's a bit of me that isn't that surprised, because I mean, recently I've looked back at some of the episodes that happened before I ever went into it, and they are just classic stories, wonderfully crafted. Some of them very moving. We're always saying how brilliant John Sullivan was at writing comedy, but he was also not afraid to tackle really quite serious subjects. He wrote about miscarriage and infertility and loneliness and death. He wrote about all these things, but he always managed to make it funny. And And he managed to make it funny to every age group. There isn't a single episode where you can't sit down with a 5-year-old or a 95-year-old and everybody will love it. Everybody will find it funny, some in very different ways. But nobody will ever be offended. Sometimes people will get a lump in the throat and they'll cry. And there's very little on the television that you can actually say that's true of, where you get very genuinely moved, you get hysterical so that your sides ache with mirth. And you just people have learned to love the characters, and I just think it's the great skill of John Sullivan that he appealed to every age group. Maybe that's the basic reason that it's lasted so long.
May well be. It certainly survived well with age as well. I mean, looking back on some of the older episodes, we see things like the invention of the mobile phone, Del holding his first phone, and you think today it's something we take for granted, but in those days, of course, it was new technology we're beginning to see brought in there.
Well, that's one of the interesting things about it. That is what dates the episodes, of course. You see these phones the size of bricks and video recorders the size of suitcases, and it's quite fun for those of us who lived through that time because it does take you back. But it's interesting as a sort of historical document for the current generation to see what it was like for their parents, see the amazing equipment that we dealt with while they're managing to go on email and their tiny little phones. It is a very different world, isn't it?
Absolutely, very true. Now, Southend-on-Sea, as I said before we started this interview, before the tape was rolling, I've met you before, but only very briefly, and in the queue for something else that happened in Southend. Why were you in Southend last year?
Well, I was conned into this by my husband, my screen husband, John Challis. We were doing an episode of Celebrity Antiques Roadshow. It was down here in Southend, and he was doing a guest appearance in... This was The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, a show that I hadn't seen, although I loved the radio show in the old days. And he managed to persuade me to come on at the end and make a complete ass of myself in front of a packed house. How he managed to persuade me to do it, I don't know. But anyway, that's where we met, in the queue, when I was preparing to be made a complete idiot of by John Challis in front of 2,000 people.
I have to say, John did an amazing job there. That's actually the first time I've heard his real non-Boise voice. Oh, yes. And it's an amazing voice.
I think he even resisted doing the laugh, or did he do... No, I think he did do the laugh. He did do the laugh. He can't help it, can he? It's become a sort of like a tick now. No, he was very funny. He's a good actor, John. He doesn't have to be Boise. He can do other things too. I've worked with John a lot in plays on the road, actually. We've done 3 8-balls together and a Neil Simon play. He can actually be not Boise, but the public really rather prefer him sticking to the Boise character, I'm afraid.
I bet he must be sick of having to do the voice on demand.
I think he gets sick of having to do the laugh, but there's nearly everybody out there that you meet seems to do the laugh at him. As you're walking through Tesco's or Sainsbury's, an awful lot of people are going, Marlene, and then this ridiculous laugh. But I think he's learned to live with it. So
I have to ask, is there any chance on the horizon of any repeat performances either from Marlene or Del Boy in the coming years?
Well, I've met up with David Jason a few times recently at various do's, and we always think it would be very nice to work together again. This is the tragedy, that it was rumoured that there would be one last episode, a Christmas special, the Christmas before last, where they would get us all back together. Boise and Marlene would come back up from the country and there'd be a Christmas special, reuniting everybody. But the tragedy was that in the April 2 years ago, John Sullivan, a hale and hearty, apparently completely healthy 64-year-old, suddenly succumbed to viral pneumonia, and it's a great tragedy for his family, but it's a great tragedy for the nation too, really, because I do think there's nobody like him. It's still very hard to believe he's not with us. We carried on genuinely thinking that more episodes could happen, because John Sullivan always said that he could write Only Fools and Horses until he died. He had enough stories to keep him going forever. Well, he died too soon, and it's a great tragedy for us all, and so there won't be any more. I can absolutely guarantee there won't be any more, because nobody would have the heart to try to attempt it without him. John Sullivan's son, Jim, is a very good writer, and he wrote some smashing episodes for the Green Grass. But even Jim, I don't think, would take on trying to bring Only Fools back without his dad. It just wouldn't be right.
The fortune, of course, is we've got some very good quality episodes that will stay with us forever and hopefully stand the test of time.
They do stand the test of time, I think, and people occasionally grumble about shows being repeated again and again, but they wouldn't repeat them if people didn't watch them. And I've had so many people say to me that bad things have happened in their lives. People have got sick, or you're just particularly tired or upset for something that's happened at work, and Only Fools is what people put on to cheer themselves up. And they say laughter's the best medicine. So I think John Sullivan has probably saved the nation a great deal of money, because people put on an episode, have a laugh, and they are cured of many ills. So long may they continue to repeat them.
Absolutely, and of course so many words have passed into parlance now.
Yeah, lovely jubbly being just two. Yeah, no, and the fun thing is when you go abroad, I remember in just outside Mumbai, I stopped in a cafe that was really a garage, and they came out and said, "Lovely jubbly, what are you wanting?" And I thought, and they didn't recognise me, I don't think, as Marlene. It just was what they do. And there was a picture of the yellow van at the back of this garage. Everywhere you go, you find that people are saying don't be a plonker and lovely jubbly and all those other wonderful terms, and bonjour and bonnet de douche, and it's nice. It's become a sort of common language internationally.
So I have to ask, Southend-on-Sea, obviously a lovely place. Why do you think Del didn't pick Southend for his Jolly Boys outing?
It's much too posh. Oh, much too upmarket for the boys' outing. I don't know, it could have been here. It would have been lovely here. I don't know, it would have been just as much fun. But Margate was all right. No, I don't know why the choice was made. Maybe Margate was cheaper.
Could be, or maybe Grandad didn't fancy the walk down the pier, possibly.
I would think maybe all of them wouldn't have wanted to walk down the pier after the amount of alcohol that lot consumed.
Excellent. So thank you very much. Enjoy your day here, and we'll try as hard as we can to get many people to flock down and get some of this rather odd merchandise that I've seen here. There's all sorts of things. Have you been asked to sign anything unusual yet?
Well, I've signed bottles and I've signed mugs. I haven't been asked to sign body parts yet, although that has been known in the past. No, there's a lot of very interesting merchandise here. Some terribly good, interesting mugs. You can never have enough mugs. And there's some Peckham spring water, which, I mean, I wouldn't recommend drinking it, but would look very nice in the bar.
Or, of course, you could use it to light up a room, because it does glow in the dark as well, is that right?
It makes very good night lighting, yes. Excellent water.
Excellent. Sue, thank you very much, and welcome to Southend.
Thank you very much. I'm having a lovely time so far.
Thanks very much to Sue for taking the time to chat. I also caught up briefly with the Mayor of Southend, Councillor Sally Carr.
It's been absolutely brilliant. I was so surprised to see so many people here, a super day and bringing so many people to the end of the pier, a wonderful exhibition, and I hope that they have a good 2 weeks here, and certainly lots of people come to see it because it's well worth a visit.
Sounds like a good plan, and well done for catching the chandelier earlier. Very impressive.
Yeah, that was fun, wasn't it? It is great to be here, and I'm so glad that so many people are following this and have come here today. A super day out.
Trotters-on-Sea runs from the 29th of March to the 15th of April 2013 at the Southend Pier Cultural Centre. For pictures of the official opening day and for more details, please go to www.southend.co.uk/trotters. This feature was brought to you by southend.co.uk, your local website for Southend-on-Sea.